Now the question in this tank at the moment is whether to remove this giant black shark. Now in this video it doesn't appear as massive as this thing is in real life. But in real life this thing is sort of pushing 2 foot and it is a monstrous fish. And it's in a monstrous aquarium. Now it is a little bit aggressive to the other fish. It does chase them around, and that is pretty normal behavior for any dominant fish. But the question becomes, how do we get this damn thing out when the aquarium is so big? And is that worth the effort? Now, it is very common for a dominant fish just to give everyone a bit of a rush, a bit of a hurry up, but providing that it isn't hurting the other fish, then you may well just decide to keep it. If it is physically damaging the other fish, killing some of the other fish, then I would suggest that the decision is actually made to remove the fish. But if he's just giving them a little bit of a hurry along, sometimes it's not the end of the world. And once again, it depends on how he's going about it. If he's picking an individual fish and just attacking that one, then obviously that's not in the best interest of that individual. But if he leaves the other ones alone, then hopefully things should settle down, particularly if he does knock that one off. But then if he does pick on one until he eventually wears it down, and then he moves to the next one, then that's pretty bad behavior. Because if it physically looks like he's going to knock one off, and then move to the next one and knock that off, and then move to the next one and knock that off, then this sort of Nazi behavior is why you would want to get rid of the fish. But the fish just giving the other fish a bit of a hurry along, maybe particularly due to the amount of effort that it would take to get this fella out, maybe it's worth leaving the fish in. So once again, these questions don't have absolute right or absolute wrong answers. It's all just suck it and see. So once again, as far as this shark is concerned, if he's giving the fish a little bit of a chase, even if that is a bit annoying for you, then maybe it's worth overlooking that. Whereas if he is damaging and eventually killing the other fish in the aquarium, then I think that that's something that maybe should not be overlooked. So avoiding the effort of having to remove a fish from this aquarium would obviously be ideal, particularly with something like a black shark that is actually a wonderful scavenger and a beautiful display fish. It's such a lovely thing to have in the tank. But if he is actually injuring and potentially killing some of the tank mates, then that decision just has to be drawn. Oh, see that? That was cool. So basically, to remove or not to remove is the big question right now. Certainly be an epic to have to get you out. So anyway, if you've got any tips or tricks, if you have any experience removing a fish out of a big populated display like this, certainly put a little note on the bottom of this video. Or if you have any opinion of whether you would remove it, by all means put a little note on the bottom of this video. But what I'm seeing while I'm watching is I'm watching him just giving fish chase, and providing that he isn't picking on a certain fish, then he can just be exerting dominance. And exerting dominance indiscriminately without picking on individuals is actually not the end of the world. Picking on individuals and then seeing that behavior repeated, I think is the end of the world. So anyway, put a little note on the bottom of this video. When have you had to make a decision to remove a fish from the tank? What effort have you had to go to remove a fish from the tank? And was the amount of effort that you had to put in definitely a consideration as far as removing fish from the aquarium is concerned. Obviously, the easier it would be to remove, the less tolerance you'd have for a particular individual before you moved it. Whereas something like this, removing that fish from this aquarium, would be such a huge endeavour that you'd want to make sure you were doing it for the right reasons. And maybe just giving everyone a little bit of a chase here and there isn't necessarily warranted for the amount of effort that would go into removing it. A little chase here, a little chase there is normal dominant fish behaviour. What a great